Welcome to the Crazy Cool Family Podcast with Don and Suzanne Manning. Parents, what if we could give you the power to transform your family into something absolutely amazing?
A family where everyone is healthy, gets along, loves Jesus, and has great purpose in life.
Hey, let us flip your thinking to unlock the power God has given you to create your own Crazy Cool family. Welcome to the Crazy Cool Family Podcast, the first one of 2023. We have missed you guys.
Woohoo, 2023. It's going to be the best year yet.
That's right. We haven't done podcasts in a while. We're like, hey, let's do a podcast.
We missed you guys. We missed talking to you.
Yep. And this is the beginning of season 5. Can you believe it?
Yeah, we've almost done 200 podcasts.
Yes. I remember we were so bad when we started, and then
it was like a mess. If you go back and listen to the first ones, I'm just so nervous.
Yeah, Suzanne was like, it was so hard to get her into it. Now it's so easy. She just comes in and just says, oh, let's do a podcast. Okay, let's do it.
No, we're not going to video, are we? No, I'll do a podcast. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
And, it's just our way of sitting down. What we love about podcasts, in our base camp teaching, we have all these courses and things that take you through vision.
But your video.
And yeah, exactly. And yes, they are video. And Suzanne looks so good in them. You should go look at them.
That's exactly what you need to say. Exactly. That's exactly what my problem is.
And she's, yeah, exactly. And, but this is a time.
As of right now, not so much.
This is a time, this is a time in our podcast we can just sit down and talk about anything. And we sit down and talk about a variety of topics. We can have guests and all the things. So we're super excited to start season 5.
Yeah, and we are, because as we we went to the Lord and we said, okay, Lord, what is it that you want to share through us, through Crazy Cool Family? How do you want us to encourage parents out there? And we feel like he gave us a couple words, and the word, like last year, he gave us the word fight. And we built a whole series on that, talked about it for 8 months, until summertime, just how are we fighting for our family? And I felt like that coming out of, COVID, and then the year after COVID, 2022 was just the year to fight. And so this year, though, I felt like that the Lord spoke the word just simplicity over that. And I think part of it was because our church service was super scaled back on a Christmas Eve, and it was just a simple service, and it was so pleasant, and it was so peaceful. And that's kind of what I feel too. Like even in the stores, everything's not so busy. It's not hustle and bustle like it normally is. And so I even feel that it just feels like we're trying to simplify a little bit.
So why do you think that? So as you reflected on what's 2023 to come, and why do you think simple is the word?
Yeah, well, and how does it apply to family is what I thought you were going to ask.
Okay, I asked that. Okay.
Well, I just think it's because, to answer your question, because I think we've been wound really tight, and we've been encased with a lot of fear and a lot of unknown and a lot of uncertainty in the past. And I think that as we move forward with simple, it means to just I just envision us just letting go and simplifying and not trying so hard and not making it be all about the things and the stuff and the way that we're doing it, but almost I just see us relaxing into it. So how does it mean to simply interact with our family? Instead of educating us and watching all the reels and doing all the things, just simply saying, God, how do I invest in my family this year? What is one thing that I can say to that one child that's going to make them have the best year yet? And so that's so simple, just to back it up, instead of having the chore charts. And that's fine. With a new year, anytime we have a new year, we've got all the things, I'm going to exercise 100 miles, walk 100 miles a week, and I'm going to eat everything green and all the things. But what does it look like? And I even have done this whole month so far of January. I've just kind of taken a step back and just been simple at what I'm going about doing instead of charged.
Yeah,
and then so God gave you a word for us too, which I just think they go so perfectly together.
Yeah. And the word I feel like God gave us for 2023 is, for Crazy Cool Family in particular, is engage. Mm-hmm. And for me, it was, I feel like what the chaos has done of the last couple of years is it's made people withdraw, and it's made them disengage from society and become apathetic. True. And what I found in 2022 is, I can give you so many examples. I won't bore you with them in the podcast. come, I'll go to lunch with you and we'll go and so I'll tell you all about it. But
please come take my extrovert husband out to lunch.
is when I engaged with something, or when I engaged someone with something, just tremendous benefit for me or that person. And but yet, so often we're fighting disengagement, and also just it's still just so much information, more and more technology, technology is increasing. Now we've got artificial intelligence that's, everything is just going more and more of disengaging stuff. And,
well, I just think it's almost survival. Like there's so much coming at you, you have to disengage. And I think that's why the words work so perfectly together, because we need to simplify and pick and choose what is the most valuable to engage in.
And so
would say, let me just say, well, maybe you're going to say the same thing. What were you going to say?
I was going to say that for Crazy Cool Family, we want you to engage in our material. We want you to engage in our content, because it's going to change your life.
And that's what I was going to say we're going to engage in family. I mean, that's what we want for you more than anything else, is for you to engage in your family. And we can help you do that in a very simple way.
Our material, either podcast, and what I'd really love for you to do is go to Basecamp and start going through our courses. And even if you get our newsletter, once you sign up for Basecamp, it'll take you through 3 8-week trails that take you through our content. Decide this year you're going to engage with our content. And you may have listened to our podcast for 2 years. The stuff we have in Basecamp is going to really benefit you. And that's where, because what we found in Crazy Cool Family is it's easy to draw a crowd. It's hard to get people to engage.
Yeah.
And so I'm just doing a lot we're doing a lot to invite people to engage. So you're going to see this in our podcast. You're going to see it in our social media. You're going to see it in our newsletters. And we say, hey, don't just sit there and be a bystander, engage, because once you do that, you will really benefit yourself, but you'll also really benefit your family. And just take a next step and learn a couple of things that you can apply.
And so that leads perfectly into one of the pillars that we talk about, the commitments, I guess, is culture at Crazy Cool Family. And that is I would say that's one of the best ways that we teach you how to engage in your family, in your relationships. And so tell us a little bit about culture.
Well, so in the next several podcasts, as we look at, like, for example, she was saying, when we put the Fight series up, we did many podcasts on fight. We're going to do many podcasts on culture. And so again, that ties into like what we teach you in Basecamp in more depth is all the pillars of culture and what culture means for your family. So just talking about culture, what is culture? Why is it important to your family? In fact, we talk a lot at Crazy Cool Family about relationships, and relationships are important, but really culture is the builder of relationships. Mm-hmm. And culture is something that it's easy to experience, but hard to explain.
We're going to try to explain it, but it's kind of one of those things that's kind of hard to grasp.
So just I want you to think about, like, when you go into a business, when you go into a church, when you maybe start a small group, or when you have, wherever you go, you feel a certain you experience a certain culture in the room. Mm-hmm. Is it going to be arrogant people? Is it going to be harsh people? Is it going to be kind people? Is it going to be, very laid back people or pretty intense people? All that is what culture is. It's an atmosphere of a place that's delivered by the people and by the circumstances. Let's say, for example, you go into an old folks home and there is a lot of people that are ill, or there are a lot of people that are down on life or up. You may have you can think about going through the room of an old folks home, and it's probably not the right term. I probably should say a retirement center or something like that. But you go to different rooms and you might see completely different people, a different culture in every room because of
I remember that. Just reminded me that when I was a school teacher, and when Molly was a little girl, I had to put her in daycare. Like, I had her for the first couple years at in-home care. My grandmother, took care of her. But that last year when we moved to Louisville, I didn't have any locals, so I literally went to, I don't even know, a dozen daycares, and I would come home and you would be like, what did you like about it? I'm like, I didn't like the culture. I didn't like the atmosphere. Well, what about the people? Nope. The people were fine. I guess they were nice, but I didn't like, and so we literally settled on one that was right around the corner in a little house. It was very, very expensive. I just remember it being very expensive, and it was the only one that I felt like my daughter was going to be safe in
Yep.
because the culture was welcoming and loving and kind.
Yep. And so, hey, parents, your family, whether you believe it or not, has a culture.
Right.
And so, and what we want to do is to make that culture, we want to show you and how to make your culture as life-giving and engaging, to use our word again, as possible.
And simple. Can't throw my word in there.
And so, because
Like, what word are we talking about again?
Yeah, the culture of our home has an incredible, every family has a culture, and every family's culture will have a dramatic impact on the child in that home. Mm-hmm. So the children in your home will be incredibly impacted in their lives by the culture you create.
And we say this all the time. Parents have come to us and they've said, I don't like the culture in our home. And we'll say, that's great. You can change it.
Absolutely.
You're the one that's in charge. What do you not like about it?
And so some parents really, they get overwhelmed and say, oh my goodness, I've got so much. But in reality, I love it because we get the power. We get to be able,
yes.
we get to go and shape the culture of our home. And so then it becomes, well, gosh, how do I learn to do that? Well,
Right.
guess what?
Take?
That's what we do. And so, when you, and really think about this, culture is made up of values and a lot of people ask, simply tell me, Don and Suzanne, how do I build the culture in our home? And we say, okay, let's make it simple. And that is that culture is based on the values. And what happens is, as Suzanne and I, and we can give you example after example of this, I'll give you one that in just a minute, but we have talked about for years what values we want to put in our home, what's important.
I was about to say, values is what's important. Yeah. It's what you find that you pay the most attention to. It's what you get excited about or passionate about or maybe angry if it doesn't happen.
Yep.
And so just think about those things.
And so what happens is that you decide those, and what it does is it tells you there's only so much time we have in a day and so much time we have in a week.
And energy to match that time.
And what it does is it tells you what you're going to focus on and what you're going to leave out. For example, a key value that we decided years ago, and if you've heard our podcast, you've heard us talk about this, is we decided we were going to have our siblings, have our kids all be best friends.
Right.
That we were going to pursue that as a value in our home. And we have fought for it, and now that's a reality in our home.
A much simpler value that we had was we played basketball.
Yeah, exactly. Or a sillier value, if you will. I mean, some values are preferences. Not all families will have the same values.
But yeah, maybe you're a musical family. Like we know a family and all their kids play the piano and play other instruments. And now their kids are in literally Nashville helping songwrite. I mean, and so that was what was valuable to them. And so what are you passionate about? What's important to you? I mean, just on a God note, we were valuable about Jesus and Jesus in their life and having a personal relationship with Jesus.
So
we talked about it all the time.
What we want to do in your home, especially younger parents, it's like, okay, well, actually any age, because it doesn't matter, but especially when you're establishing those foundations, what are those values and what are those, how do you, because the values build the culture.
Right.
So when you decide what's important, that's going to shape, for example, if you value grades.
Oh, that's exactly what I was going to say.
You're going
to talk to so many kids whose parents valued grades. And what that looks like from the kids' perspective is that number that the teacher gave them and their performance is more important than the child themselves. And so, therefore, the child felt like they needed to perform or they needed to jump through the hoops. And so, but that's not a bad thing necessarily.
Well, because some parents did it well.
Yes.
And they were able to challenge the kids.
And partner with the kid and say, this is great. This is,
and those kids maybe became doctors or,
right.
or whatever. But
they need the grades.
And some parents really, made their kid feel terrible about every B they ever made. And so they pushed their kid away through the misapplication of that value.
That's good.
And so, so we look at values, what's important, and then we decide how to make those values happen. Well, guess what? That comes through what we call our 4 pillars of culture at Crazy Cool Family. And so what we found over the years was there were 4 major pillars that helped you to create the values in the right way.
Yeah, super simple.
And again, super simple. And so one of those is the value or the pillar of encouragement.
You want to go through each one of the, like, so there was
Yep.
the power of encouragement, and then another pillar, safe haven, relational discipline, and unity. So those are the four pillars that we built a bunch of courses on, which are in the base camp site. If you go there, we've talked so many podcasts on all of these things, but this season in our podcast series of series 5, we're just going to go into each one of these and break down each one, what they talk about, what they mean. And so we're just going to give you a minor, just a little overview today, not go into all of them.
And again, just establishing that culture is super critical. And so how you build it and what the values are super critical as you decide on those. And then here's some methodologies that help you build those values into your home. And so, we want you, and so with that, you want to just go through each one and just have a little quick definition of them and explain it just a little bit more, and then we'll, like, for example, what's encouragement? Encourage, it just means it's how you talk to your kids.
Yeah, it's just putting courage into them. It's being their number one cheerleader. It's believing in them because nobody else is going to believe in them like God has created you to believe in them.
Safe haven talks about how we listen and how we engage. Back to my word.
Yeah.
How we engage our kids and draw them out.
And how we respond when they bring us bad news or when they make a mistake or when they've done something.
Relational discipline. Every parent wants to know how to discipline their kids.
For sure.
Well, Crazy Cool Family, we talk about doing it relationally.
Yeah.
And how discipline is not about, doesn't have to be harsh. It can be engaging, and it can be something that's life-giving.
Yeah, and so I even think of that, like, discipline is to do a little tweak on the word and call it discipleship. What if as parents, and we are called to disciple our children, and how radically different that looks than disciplining them.
And then the last one we feel like is just next level, and it's unity.
Yeah.
That God desires unity for our home, and one of the ways we do that is we recognize that God made us all different.
Yeah.
And we don't want to make everybody the same, but we want to make everyone, we want to celebrate their uniqueness. We want to bring out the best in them, but we unite under, okay, here comes that word again, the values that we create in our home. So, and how that plays out in every family, how these four pillars and the values and the culture plays out. Some people say, we love you, Mannings. We want to be like your family. We're like, no, don't be like us. Be like you.
Yeah.
There's similarities, but hey, your culture will be unique and your values will be unique. There may be common values between different families, and there's definitely biblical values and things like that. But God has made your family unique, and you will have a unique culture. And it's so cool to get to find it and to ask the Lord where that culture should be.
Yeah, and to press in and to celebrate that. I think that's one of those things that we tapped into, because so many times we compare and we contrast our kids. Oh, this one does this and this one does this. But when we can celebrate that and we can point our kids to, no, your little brother is really good at soccer. Do you see that? I mean, and just it's like that Don said, it's next level when it comes to
Okay,
unity.
so as we start to land the plane on this podcast, we want to sell you, if you will, on culture's important. And we want to give you that culture, and we want you to talk about it in your home. We want you to talk about it with your spouse and say, not just one time, but it's an ongoing conversation. Wow, and you have words and you put common language together and you go, okay, wow, is this something that's important to us?
Yeah.
Is this something we really want or not? I mean, we have had things we've thought about doing and we said, no, that's not going to be something we prioritize, in our home. And so,
well, and it goes back to, all this information coming at you. So how are you going to simplify it? And so if you take these four pillars, and we've written just statements, 4 super simple statements that we want to teach you, and we want you to think about, and we want you to own and write them down and say them and practice saying them and use them in your family to build the culture in your family. And then we'll talk more about them. But the more we talk about them, then they'll become what's the word I'm looking for? Comfortable. You'll be familiar. That's the word I'm looking for. They'll be familiar to you.
It's like charades. I was ready. Okay, 2 words.
And so, like we were even saying, what would it be like if they're like saying them in their sleep, encourage extravagantly, correct carefully,
Which is the first one.
The cool thing about that is if you can get it into your conscious, into your subconscious, then it's going to automatically come out when you interact and respond with your kids. And that's what we're going for. We don't want to make you work harder. Don says it all the time. We want you to work efficiently. And how do you do that? It becomes an automatic response instead of a reaction.
Yeah. At the end of Matthew 10, Jesus says, take up your cross and follow me. In other words, get to work. In other words, sacrifice, surrender. And then at the end of Matthew 11, he says, my yoke is easy and my burden is light. And I believe that if we'll do the work of creating culture and we'll sacrifice and surrender and bring about God's unique culture that he tells us about into our home, you will make the statement eventually that I make every day, we have 7 kids, and family's the easiest thing we do every day. Why? Mm-hmm. Because the culture is established, the relationships are established, and they work. And those are the things.
And they're independent and they take care of themselves. I mean, just mamas of small little kids. You're like, what? I mean, it's coming. It's coming.
Well, but it's for some families, it doesn't come, because they don't create the culture, and the relationships get harder, and the relationships get more divisive. And we want you to have a different path. And creating the culture in your home is a huge key element to. We feel like, people say, well, what did you change? And we said, we got away from all the rules and we got into building culture and relationships, and we found that our kids really responded to that. Mm-hmm. We want the same for you.
Right.
And so with that, we've got 4 statements, one for each pillar, and that we're going to introduce to you. You're going to hear them over the next several weeks and months. The first one Suzanne just said that she wanted us to say in your sleep is to encourage extravagantly and correct carefully. So that's number 1.
Yeah, and we'll talk more about that in the next podcast. So you got to listen to the next one if you don't understand it. But those words are pretty self-explanatory. Yeah. Encourage extravagantly, correct carefully.
All right, number 2.
Is to become a listener. And that goes with the safe haven pillar. And we have it's just super simple, cut to the chase. Just listen. Just listen to your kids. Let them talk to you. And you do that, you're going to start creating a safe space.
Yeah, the third one is related to the discipline pillar. And, think about it as the goal here. We want to, but the words are move from parent control to self-control.
Doesn't that sound beautiful? I mean, all the mamas are like, self-control. Yes, that's all I want my kid to have is self-control. I just want them to, do it the right way.
We're going to move from parent control to self-control. Kids, we're going to teach you how in that pillar that kids obey on their own because they want to.
Right.
Because they believe in it, because you have presented it well, and the culture of the home that's what we do. That's a part of who we are.
Yes, and the children God sent them as to be a blessing, and they will be a blessing when they're self-controlled.
Yeah, and the fourth one, unity.
Yeah,
where we're going, and unity is one where it's a short statement that has a lot of punch. We're going to celebrate differences and establish, here's that word again, values. We're going to celebrate differences and establish values. And when we do that, that takes our family to the next level. It takes our family to where they feel appreciated. Our kids feel like they are known
and included and part of something. Yes. That's why cults get so much traction, because there's unity, there's a common goal, there's values that they're all believing in, and it's like, no, that's a distraction from what we're doing here. No, if we do that in our own family, not be a cult, but if we create the values for them to be a part of, that they belong, that's what we want. We want to belong. And so
think about our pastor said this the other day. He said, think about a family versus a gang.
Yeah, gangs. Probably better than a cult. Not better, but...
He said, both of them, people want to belong. One has great values and is part of God's plan for everything. A gang they feel that belonging, but they do bad things in the gang, but they still feel a part of it, and they want that sense of belonging. But also just in the unity deal about as we celebrate differences, as God made every one of us unique. Every
so
family we
beautiful.
talk to he didn't make us all the same.
Yeah, we're going to have a
Therefore,
great podcast on that. That's,
Yeah, and there's a
good.
purpose to it. And so
Yeah.
when we take that purpose and we design our culture around the differences rather than trying to get rid of the differences, it is amazing what happens in our family. So, okay, so culture series, we want to, and also just ending the series on culture. Guess what, parents? The culture of this world, there is a culture in the world. The world has its culture. The world has its values, and it wants to instill them into your children.
I mean, and I would say that it's run by the enemy. He's here to kill, steal, and destroy. That's what he wants to do. And I would say that the thing that is being destroyed, stolen, killed is our kids' identity. I mean, going after our kids' identity at the very level of if they're male or female, at the level of families important or not important, at the level of getting an education and not. I mean, it really is mind blowing to me how that the world is so blatantly. The world's culture is so blatantly going after our kids, and the platforms, social media, the education and the education system, what they hear on the news, what they're seeing in movies. I mean, the culture is coming full force at our kids like I have never seen
and because
before.
of the increasing, let's go back to the first of the podcast, because of the increasing reach of technology.
Yep.
It
There's
allows
exposure.
It allows it in more and more and more frequently. So, therefore, all the more reason, parents, that you've got to build a culture in your home that is relational. It is encouraging. We build identity
It's
into
safe,
our kids.
It's unified. Yeah.
Yeah.
For
So,
sure.
I mean, and all the things we're telling you, and you may say, hey, that's overwhelming to me.
Well, you can't
Guess
change
what?
the world. I mean,
Guess what? We're going to make it simple.
Yeah, you can't.
And what we're going to
so
do
good.
this year is we're going to make it simple for you, and we're going to engage you, and we're going to challenge you. We're going to say, hey, just take this step.
Yeah.
Just do this. Just
Yeah.
have this happen, and you will find that over time, you may have a 3-year-old, 7-year-old, 12-year-old. I don't care what family situation you have. You can build a culture simplistically and engage you. We will teach you how to engage your kids. It's going to be so fun, and you're going to see. I've got some men who I'm working through all our material with, and about 30 men. And right now in this class on Mondays mornings, and every one of them that starts to engage with the material says the culture, the atmosphere, the just the feeling of my family is changing. It is becoming, and mainly it's changing. And they tell me this, mainly it's changing because of me. And that's not a selfish statement.
Don?
Yeah, but no, because of me. Yeah. No, I said, no, man, yeah, that's good. But they're saying personally to them, because they're seeing their family different, and they realize the powerful impact the dad has on their 3-year-old, on their 7-year-old, as they just see them differently, as they see, yes, I need to build this culture, and I need to get over my preferences, and I need to serve and love, and all of a sudden they see changes, and they're like, I want more of this. And then as they see their family start to benefit from it, and they see the home become less tense and everything else. That's what we want for you.
Yep.
And so let's get started. And we're, every week we're going to be we'll bring you guests that talk about different things with culture.
Yeah,
and
we're excited. We've been brainstorming. Yeah.
So super excited about the series. Any last words, Suzanne? Any last parting shots for them?
No. I was just going to wrap up with 1 Thessalonians 5, 10, 11. It says he gave his life for us. And so remembering that as we're building the value in our culture, remember that God sent his son Jesus to give his life for us, that we may live together with him, keeping him as our value. But this is the part, therefore, encourage one another and build each other up. And Paul goes on to say, just as in fact you are doing, but that's what culture, that's the backbone of culture, to build each other up. That's what we're trying to do. And that's what we want to do for you too, is to build you up in that role of parenting with your family.
So remember, we're going to keep it simple. We're going to engage you, and we're going to talk about culture. So
It'll be fun.
That'll be fun. Have a great week. Go be crazy parents, crazycoolfamily.com.